Hi guys, welcome again to Sacred Para. Anyone can play right, and I am having a wonderful time because I am going to be talking to TMI. It's at the Melanin Dolls, and she has this beautiful doll line, and the design is just perfect, and it's a wonderful doll line that you want to have in your doll community. So I am going to bring her into this conversation. We tried it earlier, and unfortunately, it didn't work. All right, but I feel like it's going to work this time. How are you? So talk about your doll line, how your doll line came about, and all this great stuff. So I thank you guys for coming back to the conversation. Hi, how
Hi,
are you?
I'm doing
And
well. How are you doing?
doing good. Doing
Good.
good. First off, I want to tell you congratulations. Like I said in the caption, you're a full-time student, correct?
Yes, I am. Thank you
And you
so
just
much.
got done with
I did.
finals.
I did. And I'm so happy we're on Christmas break right now. So I'm actually back at home right now at my parents' house. So
Oh,
the break is here. So I'm just
there you
happy.
go. There you go. Well, congratulations on getting that done. I remember undergraduate and graduate years of trying to get those finals done, and it is just extremely nerve-wracking for real.
It
The study time. That's why, like, when you hadn't gotten back in touch with me, I already understood.
is.
I did. I did. I was like, because I was like a person that had to study and put like my book on my head
Yeah.
when I went to sleep, trying to like, yeah, I was like
It's
trying to soak
such
it all
a
in. I was like, osmosis,
it's so hard
osmosis.
balancing. I think that's like the most difficult part about me being an entrepreneur, like trying to balance school and trying to balance like being a full-time entrepreneur is just it's a little difficult sometimes, but I'm still learning and growing, and I've been doing okay managing. I can do better, of course, but we're learning and growing over here.
Aren't we? I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure that even, the colonel at KFC had to keep on learning and growing after 20 and 30 years in the industry. So we're constantly learning and growing. And the way that things change, it goes from, like for me, the connection that we had with internet, you had to plug it into the wall. Now everything's wireless. So things change constantly. And I don't care how long you've been an entrepreneur in the industry, you have to constantly learn. So I actually, like I said, I applaud you. I'm like all about what you're doing, and you pretty much answered my first question. My first question was, how do you balance it all as far as being a full-time student, and I'm sure having a social life and
Yeah.
then being able to have this doll line. How do you balance it?
So actually, just to add on to that, so I am a full-time student. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, and I have a job as an intern for a nonprofit organization. And I think to answer that question, I would say the easiest way to balance it is to try to stay organized. I try to plan out my days, my weeks. On Sundays, I set an agenda that I plan on executing throughout that week. Sometimes I execute very well, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I need additional time studying, or I have to pull overtime at the intern because we're working on a proposal document or something. So it's very difficult, but I find I make it happen. I make it happen.
I love that. I love that. I am definitely all about being able to be involved with volunteering and anything that's nonprofit, because that's something that's needed. No matter what area that it's in, there are so many people that really do need our service and to be able to be seen. So when you say that, like, it just rings with my heart, because that's always an area that is tender to me. That I, how can I put it? That's precious to me.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work with homeless, and I went into grad school for social work, and went for psychology and so forth. So when you say that, it's just like it brings back those tender things for me, and that really does show a lot about your own personality, and lets me know even furthermore why you have on the back of your box the affirmations. I just think that's awesome.
Thank
Even when I
you.
posted in the story, I wanted to keep that in mind, that you have the affirmations, and so I put the songs with it. What made you decide to put the affirmations on the back?
So this is actually the first time that I've gotten this question out of all the interviews that I have done. Um, and I love this question. So it's actually a very funny story. It's a little personal. Um, but when I was a sophomore in college, I remember that I was doing so poorly in school because I just come from a working class family. Neither one of my parents went to college, so I'm like a first gen. And, I don't think that I was properly prepared for school because how could they have, helped me if they don't know? So when I first came to the University of Houston, I did not do okay. I kind of failed a little bit, but that had like a drastic effect on like me mentally. And I kind of started to feel like very insignificant. And this is the funny part. So me and my friends were like in our dorm rooms, and there was a song that came on, and it was like saying nothing but positive things. So it was just like kind of like an affirmation song in a sense. And I just remember, and this is in front of everybody, I started crying. Like, I guess because I could just hear all those positive things and how that person was speaking of themselves in the song. And I couldn't relate because I didn't feel that way, because I just felt insignificant at that time because I felt like a failure. So that was when I created the doll line, that was like something that inspired me. I knew that if you speak positive, like it's gonna do something on the inside, and eventually it's gonna like change something in there. So I think that that's like the most prominent component of the Melanie dolls. It's just that's like the best way to teach girls how to feel beautiful, how to feel loved,
Yes.
how to love themselves, how to feel courageous, because I've personally experienced that. And so since that song had like it impacted me so much, I know what the affirmations can do for each young girl. So that's how I came
Yeah.
up with the idea, and that's why I kind of implemented it into the doll company.
I love that. I love it because our words are energy. I'm all about my husband and I. That's what we talk about is energy, and the things that you speak over yourself. It makes a
Yeah.
difference. You're channeling that energy and you're bringing it to you. You're harnessing it, and the more that you say it, just like you said, it starts to change your mindset. It
Yeah.
starts to transform the way that you look at yourself, the way that you look at your problems, the way that your outlook is on a lot of different things. And I believe, especially in our community, and just really overall, but specifically in our community, we don't speak positive enough
I
to each
agree.
other or positive enough to
Yeah.
ourselves. And so when I saw what you had on the back, that's what, it stuck out to me. And I saw the little
Yeah.
kids, little girls reading it aloud. I love your page. I
Thank
do want to say
you.
that. I love your page, and you having that on there really did, like I said, it stuck out to me because that's something that we need. All young girls need it, no matter what race that they are. They all need to be able to know that they're worth it, they matter, that they are smart, they're brilliant, they're genius, all these great
Yeah.
things that society doesn't always promote. So I love that you did that. Now, where did you get the name Brianna, the Brianna doll line?
So initially, I was very moved with the Breonna Taylor killing. I think that was like a very prominent component that kind of struck me in a sense that I remember just seeing the clip on the news, and I just remember like now Brianna, the remembrance behind the name Brianna is only going to be negative, right? What happened to her? And I didn't like that. So I just wanted to use the name Brianna to put a more positive narrative behind that name, because we have to stop just being viewed one way on the news and just media as like what happened to us. We're so much more than that. So I just wanted to change the narrative a little bit behind that name. So that's why I used
I
Brianna.
love that. I'm sorry. I live in the same city.
Don't
I
get
live in the
emotional. You're
same
gonna make me
city that
emotional.
she
Don't get
died, that she was killed in. Um,
I'm
yeah, yes.
super
So
sensitive.
I live here.
So
And so when I saw that you had Brianna Dollline, and I said to my husband and to the kids, because my girls, they saw, I immediately showed my girls the dolls. I was like, this is on your Christmas list. This is on my list. This is on yours. But when I saw that you had Brianna, I was like, I wonder if this is in tribute and remembrance of Brianna Taylor. So I didn't know it was going to hit me that hard. Like I said, I'm in the same city that tragedy took place, and then I just of course got an update today and the news that her boyfriend was able to win in his lawsuit. So it's still this
yeah,
ongoing um, wound that's there, because money can never make up for the life of a person.
exactly.
But I believe, like I said, with you being involved with the nonprofit and putting your time into it and developing this doll line and putting the affirmations, I'm really not surprised that you did this doll in remembrance of her. And I believe that's a beautiful thing. And I just want to tell you thank you, because there's not enough enough people who come together and say, let's do something. So for you to do that, I applaud you, and I thank you for doing that. That itself, like your doll says, is courageous. Not everyone wants to do that. And you're right, there's too much of a negative view. And we can't just let media or other people really tell that narrative. We need to tell the narrative ourselves and be able to show the beauty of who we
Yeah.
are. And the best way of doing that is, just like you said, being able to do this through our dolls. Now, what made you decide to go with the dolls? You could have went any which way. There's so many different creative outlets you could have done. What made you choose dolls?
So I love this question too. And just to be a little more transparent about, my own journey. At first I thought that it was just like a good idea that I had. But now that I look back and knowing where I was when I first created these dolls, and like I was a failing student, and I felt insignificant at that time. I know that it wasn't just a me thing. Like, I didn't just come up with that. I honestly feel like it was a God-given idea because we needed this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just strongly believe that
Yeah.
God knew that I could do this. So I believe that he put that idea in me. And I know it to be true because the closer I get to God, the closer that I was getting to God when I was creating this company, the more identity the brand started to have. So I know that to
Yeah.
be true. So that's why I decided to do dolls.
Girl, you got me on your game. Like,
Don't do it because I'm gonna do it.
go
Please
from the
don't do it
church.
too. But
Lift
it,
them up. Hey, I'm so serious. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you on that,
it was
though.
just a
Yes, the
God-given
closer you get to
idea.
God, and then you have purpose with what you're doing. It's not just, I'm developing this thing. What is this for? I agree with
And
you.
two, another thing I want to say too, there's a Frederick Douglass quote. I hope I quoted correctly, but it says, it's easier to build strong men than it is to fix a broken man. And
Yes.
I just remember, like, when I had got the idea, I was researching and strategizing what I wanted the company and the brand to mean and the identity. And that really stuck with me because through dolls, and start with, creating a strong man rather than fixing a broken one. And that's the young children, starting off with the younger demographic so that we're not trying to fix each other when we get older. We're building that up right now and embodying it while we're young. So that's
I
what.
agree. I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. One of the best ways, because our dolls serve as a teaching
Yes.
tool. No matter how
Yeah.
old you are. They serve as a teaching tool. So, you may have boys and girls that are playing with the dolls. If the boys aren't playing with the dolls, they still see their sisters interacting with the dolls. It allows them to be able to see the beauty of a young Black female. It allows the girls to be able to see themselves. It allows other girls who may not be Black to be able to see that Black is beautiful. Like, oh, wow, look at her hair, look at her outfit,
Yeah.
and be able to embrace that. Because whenever we don't have any experience or encounters with people who look different than us, it's very easy to be like, well, that's weird, that's ugly. And it's not that it's ugly or weird, you just haven't experienced it.
Yeah. You can't relate.
So I love that I love that you have this in doll form, because the easiest way to teach is through our dolls,
Yeah.
puppets, dolls, what?
Yeah.
I love it.
To have
Now, how
firsthand.
did you don't have to give us trade secrets, but how did you come about, doing your doll line while also being in school? Is this something that you were already majoring in school, and then you were like, let me just call a
So I am my
manufacturer and make
major
this
at
happen?
school. My major is economics, and then I have a minor in technology and entrepreneurship. But here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I know it sounds fancy and good, but when I was creating the doll line, that wasn't my major. And like I said before, my major was psychology.
Oh my God,
Um,
I'm psychology. I
so my
got a
major was
psychology and
psychology.
communications.
I was like, I was failing. Like, I like to be transparent with my story because, like, my failure turned into triumph. So I'm completely transparent with it. But I was failing, and God gave me that idea, and I got closer to Him, and I built it. But within that, I started to see, oh, I need some more knowledge because I don't know about business. And so that's why my entrepreneurship journey has been a lot of trial and error because I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to do it. Um, so yeah, but the way that I learned is because I was still around other students. So a lot of my friends either majored in business or finance, and they kind of like showed me what they had learned in some classes. So I also have friends who own certain, like small businesses, and so they kind of just, I learned from them, to be honest. So there's certain avenues that you can go to with like manufacturers and how to get into contact with people who can supply what you need. And so they kind of just taught me. So through school and the people that I had networked with there is how I learned.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I just, God's all over that. That's beautiful. I really do. I'm, like I said, when I saw your page, I happened to stumble upon your page in the Explorer.
Really?
It was through Explorer on Instagram. And then I think, like, I want to say either our baby, because we have a 1 year old, well, 1.5 year old. I think he hit my finger and it went to the little shopping
See,
part. And there you were.
it was meant to be at that
There
point.
you were. I was on Explorer, and then he hit my finger, and I was like, I mean, immediately I was like, wow, these dolls are so beautiful.
Thank you.
And the factor being that because when we braid our hair, we get,
Yeah.
we get these little lines right here, and you have that right there. And I was like, oh my God, it's so detailed. And then she's curvy. I love curvy. I'm curvy now. Like when I used to be not curvy, I was like, now I'm curvy. So I'm like, yeah, I love it. You put so many wonderful details into your
Thank
dolls, and I'm just really, I'm excited about it. Like I said, it's on our Christmas list. We're going to be getting it for myself and our 3 girls,
you.
and I just want you to keep on going with it. What would be your advice to someone who is wanting to go into having their own doll line or go into, whatever business that they're wanting to do while also being a full-time student and working?
My main advice would be, one, have a vision. And once you create that vision in your head and you see what you want it to look like, create a plan and stick to it. Sometimes the plan changes, but stick to a plan. And what I will say is, be very clear on your vision and don't settle for anything less. And I want to give an example with that, because when I was creating the dolls, and you mentioned the braids, when I was talking to the manufacturer, I guess that they're not, what's the word? They're not used to creating such detailed black features. So they told me that I couldn't get the braids. But my vision was braids, because I grew up with wearing braids. Most black girls do. So I was very adamant on, I need these braids. I don't know what you need to do, what research you need to do, what you need to learn as a manufacturer. I want these dolls.
Yeah.
I pay any amount of money, so we have to get these dolls the way I want them. So I would just say, be very clear on what you want and don't settle. And then just, with balancing, like you said, school and internship and being an entrepreneur, I would say be very graceful with yourself, because I'm only 23. And like I said, I come from working class, no college history, my family. So I've had to learn everything myself. And that's challenging. And like life is it's not picture perfect. So be very graceful with yourself, because one thing I've learned is sometimes I was very hard on myself. This is life. It's a journey. It's not, like, be very graceful with yourself. So that's what I would say to
It
an
really, really is.
entrepreneur.
It really, really is. As far as, when you say journey, that speaks to me so much because one, unexpected things do take place, even with the plan and a vision. And if you are not graceful with yourself, and it's interesting because a lot of times we can be more graceful and understanding for other people,
Mm-hmm.
and then with ourselves, we're not. So I agree with you. You need to give that same grace to yourself as well as what you would do for other people, because everything we're learning is just for the first time.
Exactly.
Now with yourself, were you someone who played with dolls when you were a little girl, or
I
or
actually
no?
did. Sometimes it's so funny that things come full circle, because my parents always say that we play with dolls, but my dad, he was so adamant on finding us black dolls, and it was so difficult back then. So I'm from San Antonio, and I guess the closest place that had black dolls was a place called New Braunfels, and it's like an hour from here. So they said my daddy
Wow.
used to like drive a whole hour to get us black dolls. And I just found that very funny how that came full circle, because like I solved the problem that you needed the solving to. You know, like I went and created the dolls that you could have just got on the internet and bought for us. So that's just funny to me. But I did play dolls.
That's what's up. That's awesome. That's awesome. So he planted that seed. And I believe that it's so, I didn't grow up with my dad. My parents got divorced early. So I had my mom, and my mother was very adamant about, me having black dolls so that I could see the beauty in myself. And I just think that him going that extra mile, I imagine really was encouraging to you with what you're doing right now. Like it's sow those seeds.
Yeah.
Like you being a first generation. I was first generation female with my family. So you being able to have those seeds that's planted. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, we have so many similarities. I'm 40.
I love that.
Um, we have so many similarities. That's why for me, when I saw your page, and of course I was out, just completely overwhelmed, outdone by what you've presented. Um, I definitely want to say that for myself as a woman, a black female, a mom of 10 kids, as a wife, I want to tell you thank you for you being able to, step out and do this without even, I know that you said that you networked and you have friends and this and that, but there's so many different people who are able to network and have even greater resources and not do anything. But you took what you had and look what you have right now. And I imagine, and I'm not going to ask you about what you have going on because you know what I mean? Like those are the visions and the plan that God gave to you, and I don't want someone else being like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to run on it. So whatever it is that God has for you to do in the future, I know that it's going to be amazing. The dolls are just so beautiful, but the woman behind it is, I'm talking about magnificent. So I just want to thank you for you doing that. And I want things to just continue to grow and soar for you because we need you. We need more people like you who are willing to go that extra mile and who's willing to say, I'm going to put my reputation on the line because let's be truthful, not everyone sees the Breonna Taylor case the same way that we do.
Yeah.
And so some people may be like, oh, they may have their own opinions, but you were able to, just like your title says, be courageous and be able to say, I'm going to produce this doll and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do this. And you have no relationship to her. You're not in the same city as we are. And you did this. Now, when you have the title, it's Courageous Dolls, correct?
Yes, that's one of the values of the company.
Okay. How did you come about with that?
So, once again, I'm being very transparent. It's gonna get a little personal, but like I said, the dolls are a clear representation of like the journey that I had to go on myself. So, like I told you before, just with failing in school and feeling insignificant, at times like I didn't feel beautiful within. So now I know each woman, each little girl need to be able to feel beautiful. At times I didn't love how I felt. Like I lacked self-love at one point. So I know that, okay, that's why I put that in there. And then I needed courage. And I just want to give an example, and it kind of relates to me being in school. I go to a PWI, but I'm from a predominantly black community, where I'm from. And so I think when I went to school, I played small, or I made myself feel small because I just felt like I didn't fit there, or, with me failing, I didn't feel like I was capable to even graduate, just different things like that. So that's a lack of courage. And
Yes.
so, like I said, when God gave me the idea, and then the closer I got to him, the more my identity, my brand's identity grew, so did my own. So like everything that's a value of my company is something that God instilled in me while creating this brand. So that's why I put those values, because I literally needed them myself. So now that I have them, I can give them to the next little girl that needs them as well, so.
There you go. There you go. Going through the journey, going through, and still, because we're still breathing, so we're still going through
Exactly.
stuff, but using what you go through to be able to encourage someone else. Now, can you let us know what is a PWY?
So a PWI is a predominantly white institution. The University of Houston is very diverse. I don't come from a very diverse background, so it was more of like a huge culture shock for me. And just even with let's say like the internship I have now is great. I love it. But prior internships that I may have applied for and never got, I felt like I needed to fake, or like the code switch that we do sometimes.
Oh yeah, I
And
know.
so and now
Yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
at now, I'm not doing that. I have the self-love. I feel what I feel inside. I have the courage. So I'm going to be who I am. I can either add value to what this job is or whatever I'm doing, or you don't want me there, and that's fine too. So we all
Sis,
need
I
that.
love
These little
it.
girls.
I love it. I love it. I want my girls to be there. I'm gonna use that PWY.
Okay,
What was it again? Predominantly
PWI,
white.
predominantly white institution.
I like it.
Yeah.
PWI. You know why? Because for myself, that's how I've grown up. I was born and raised partially in Detroit, Michigan. Then I came here to Kentucky.
He's from there.
And when I came here to Kentucky, yeah, I came here to Kentucky and I pretty much grew up around hippies and vintage. Like
Okay.
that was really what I was around for the most part. But most of the schools I went to were predominantly white institutions. And then for my high school years, I went to a Catholic school. So I was literally the only graduating Black female out of my class. And I had established, because, we had 8 of us from 9th grade to 12th. And I had established an organization called the African American Voices, because just like you're saying, you didn't want to fake it anymore. You wanted to be who you were. And it was an organization to allow us just to kind of breathe. And it wasn't anything against anyone. It's just that when you are, when there's not really diversity in the camp, you can kind of feel like I don't fit in, like you're saying, I don't fit in. So I need to either become them or I need to just, clam up and not be seen. So that was to give us an opportunity to breathe. And one of the things that we found, and I don't know if you witnessed this in the predominantly white institutes that you were in, was that we were so busy trying to fit in that we weren't getting our schoolwork done. And because we were at a school that was Catholic, we had to do service hours. That's why, like I said, when you talk about service hours, girl, I love it. I love it because I ended up getting a St. Angela Award because service hours was so important to me. But we weren't doing our service hours. There was so much that we weren't doing, trying to become something that we were not designed to be. And it's nothing against anyone. It was just that there was pressure that was there. So that organization that I created was to allow us to be able to get into our studying, be organized, do our service hours, and be productive the way that we needed to be, so that we weren't failing and getting kicked out of the school. And that was something that was really important to me. Unfortunately, it got dissolved right after I graduated, because I went back to the school as a teacher and found out they were like, what African American voice? Because I was like, where is it? So that's the hard and harsh reality of setting up camp in an institute that's not yours. That's the beautiful thing, though, on the flip side of what you're doing, because you're an entrepreneur and this is yours. So there's no one that's going to be able to dissolve what you have. And that's one of the things, and I'm hoping that my kids are listening to this right now, and if they're not, they're going to hear it on repeat. That's the beautiful thing about ownership and entrepreneurship, and being like, when you told me what you're now majoring in, those are huge. Technology and economics, those are huge. I always tell my kids, whatever you do, go into something that says engineering in the back. And I have 2 cousins that went into engineering, like one was like chemical engineering, and I can't think of the other one, computer engineering. They always have somewhere to work. They always, and they're able to do what they need to do. I did psychology, communication, and there's nothing against that, but those aren't very productive. You got to really be creative on how you're going to work those 2 degrees. And then when I went into social work and counseling for grad school, which were awesome, and it's helped me, as far as I feel like your first counselor should be yourself. You don't want to be a counselor to other people if you're not willing to be counseled. It's definitely helpful. So I'm not going to negate it, because we don't want to, be like, hey, your past means nothing because it didn't produce anything. It's not that it produced stuff. It's just that when you really want to talk about being able to use your degree to the fullest, girl, you're right there. Like, you chose right. You chose right. But I do believe that everyone should definitely do psychology, at least do some of your prereqs in those courses, because it helps.
It does.
It doesn't help.
It does.
Now, one more question. When it comes to your affirmations, because you said that you were in a position at that time as a sophomore and you were failing, and you just felt really low on yourself. But then hearing that song really did change your perspective. Since incorporating affirmations into your lifestyle, did it help with your grades?
Yes. So I actually have a funny story.
Okay.
So like I said, when I first came in, first gen, I wasn't disciplined or prepared. I was failing. You know, I had never failed before, but when I came to college, I failed. But now, I even got invited to the president's office, and I graduated from the Bauer entrepreneurship program. It's just like once you embody those values that my dolls carry, it shows up in your life everywhere. So yeah, I'm doing good in school now. But before it wasn't like that. I had to learn those things though. But yes, things have transformed significantly.
Good job, sis. I'm glad to hear this. See, these are the testimonies and the stories that you definitely want. You know, transparency is so important. I'm somebody that has always been very closed in. And part of it is because I'm more of an introvert slash extrovert, I guess, because also I wouldn't be talking to you right now. But I'm way more introvertish. My undergrad years, I used to go out. I used to have, you know, a social life, but it took a lot of liquid courage.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really like my first thing I wanted to do. And then it just got to a point where when I was a grad student, I was at home crocheting, literally. So it was just, I enjoyed being, you know, my own
Yeah.
self energy.
Yeah.
So for me, when you talk about the importance of affirmations and being able to see that, you know, transformation in your life, it is so encouraging and it's so important because the more transparent that we are with people, I'm learning that, you know, people are able to connect with
Yeah.
you. And then from a business standpoint, you know, people relate to you and then they want your product. And they want the product not just because of the Brianna doll and how beautiful that she is and how much that they want her in their mini-verse, but because they relate to you and they're like, oh, I remember when I had a similar issue,
Yeah.
when I was failing, and it may not be in school, it may be in a whole nother area, but they were down on themselves. And then, you know, I have this doll and I feel encouraged because look where you're at. So the more transparent that you are, sis, I say the better, because you'll know, you know, God will show you what to talk about, when to talk about it,
Exactly.
how to talk about it.
Exactly.
You know, you'll
Yeah.
know how deep to go into it, and you'll know when to pull right back out. But it helps people relate more. And this is just what I've learned through being, you know, on here with social media, is that the more relatable that you are, the more that you're sharing your story. Oh my goodness, it sparks people to really be like, I have to get that
That's
doll.
the
I gotta get that
thing
doll
about
even more.
community. Like building the community that I have, I think that I've kind of taken my followers or potential customers on the journey with me. I don't know if you've seen that video where I was like building a black doll company. And so I think I did like 1.9 million views, engagements and stuff. And it's because it's very important to build that community so people feel like they belong together. And, you know, we see the similarities, like you said. So the Melanie Dolls is
You're
definitely,
right.
so we just trying to,
You're so right.
you know, continue to build together and just stay committed to teaching young black girls how to feel beautiful, loved, and courageous.
You're
That's
right.
what it's all about.
You're so right. There's a product, and we happen. If I would have saw your dolls earlier, we would have got that one. But we're still, like I said, this is on our Christmas list. So even if she comes, you know, during Kwanzaa, it's still on our list. And if you don't know what Kwanzaa is, look it up. It's an awesome, amazing holiday. Very, very special to our culture. But nonetheless, we did get her a doll, and this particular doll line, they talk about like the hair texture, and she has other friends that are not black, and they're just like, can I touch your hair? What's going on with this?
Yeah.
And they're like, you may know what doll I'm talking
Is it
about.
the Healthy Root doll?
No. Actually, this is the Karma doll.
Oh, I've never heard
Yes,
of that one.
Karma.
Karma?
It's Ludacris's daughter.
Oh,
They created a doll. And so the kids, you know, our children, they've seen the cartoon that goes with it. And you know, one of them just had a birthday. And so we gifted her that particular doll line. And but like I said, we're getting yours next. So it's interesting to me because not everyone, like I said, they don't have experience. They haven't had, you know, I mean, it's easy to happen. If I'm a parent that's not black, I happen to be white, or I happen to be Chinese or something like that. I'm going to have my kids live in an area that is comfortable for me.
Yeah.
So it may not be, but maybe one other person of a different ethnicity in that particular neighborhood. And I may not, we may just be so busy. I mean, just giving the benefit of the doubt, we got work, got school, you may have sports, and then we got to cook and do it all over again. So I just don't have time to really go out into the neighborhood. And nowadays, you don't really know what your neighbors are doing, to where you're not going to knock on the door and be like, hey, here goes some cherry pie. You know what I mean? So it's very easy to be secluded. And I believe that our dolls and whatever playthings that we have is like I said, excellent teaching tool. I homeschool. I used to be a teacher before that. It's an excellent teaching tool for, of course, our people and our young girls to be able to see the beauty of who they are. And it's an awesome, amazing teaching tool for other people who are not Black, so that they can see, okay, this is how the hair is. Oh, okay. And they normalize it. Because the reason why we had the whole lawsuit with the hair was because our hair was not normalized, although it should have been. There's no way that it shouldn't have been. But our hair, we're getting sued. We're getting our hair chopped off. We're being told we can't go to the school just because we have braids or locks or a fro. But especially when it came to braids and locks, it was like, you can't have your hair like that. So it's so very important for who we are to be normalized, and not to the point where we have to be accepted. You know what I mean? Like I have to have the seat at the table. I'll do whatever it takes, instead of just building your own table. What you're doing is building your own table. You're building your own table, and then you're inviting whoever else to sit at that table. But it's important for who we are to be normalized, to be understood. So when you produce a doll and you put that in the hands of a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 13-year-old, or even somebody who happens to be 30 or 40 or 50, but who's never really ventured outside of themselves. Because if I live in a rural area and I happen to be not Black, and I may be white, or whoever I am, you know what I mean? And I work around people who aren't Black because we're in a rural area, I don't know about the texture of their hair. I don't know about the different hues and different melanin tones.
So
and, I don't know about it.
I want to say too that that's why it's so important that we become advocates of change. Like, that's a big thing for me, because there's often times where I used to complain about certain things as well, but at some point, when are we gonna do something about it? Yeah. And that's kind of like my perspective on it. So that's why the Melanie Dolls is gonna be like, we're pushing for change here, not complaining. We're gonna create our own narrative, like I said before. So I just love what you said, because we have to be those advocates of change, and not just me. Like, I'm hoping that what I'm doing and what I'm creating, the younger girls can see that, and with the beauty, the self-love, and the courageousness, they can go forth and do the same exact thing. So that's why I call it an empowerment. Like, this is a whole empowerment, like Black empowerment.
Oh my gosh, that's like the work. I just got done listening to Stephen Furtick with my husband a little earlier, and he was saying, what's your word for 2023? Because every year they do a different word. And I was like, I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, I don't really know what my word is going to be for this year. But my goodness, you just said empowerment. It like rung with me like, yes, empowerment. That is so important. Now, if that's your word, then I'm not going to take it. But I felt that inside of me.
It's for all of us. It's for all of us.
There you go. I felt that inside of me, being able to give power to other people, letting them know, hey, I'm inspiring, I'm inspired by what you do, and letting them know they can do it too. And what going back to your affirmations, like I said, that really did that brought it home for me in contacting you. What I really, really love is that affirmations, like you said, it's changing. It changes you from a molecular structure, mentally. It transforms your life. And I love that you put the affirmations on there, because we hear about affirmations, and Mary J. Blige has the gorgeous song, and that's an affirmation within itself. It is, and it's beautiful. Our 4-year-old sings it. She loves it. Beautiful song. I'm glad that she did it. But the thing is that when we tell people, write some affirmations, journal it, and then just start, believing it. If I've never been introduced to affirmations, how am I going to do it? How do I know to speak to myself in a positive way? Especially if I've grown up, like, in my family, we had someone in a family that used to call people, fat bees.
Yeah.
And so if you, I mean, just honestly, and so, that's what was heard in that generation. How would they be able to know how to say, I love myself?
Yeah.
I'm beautiful the way I am, the way I was designed. And then also, I believe that even when we talk about the Bible, because I read the Bible, and if other people don't, that's okay. I
I
do.
don't know. I do too.
I do too. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me alive. That's what keeps me sane. But I'm gonna tell you, sis, I had the biggest struggle whenever the word said that we were wonderfully made.
Mm.
Like I would just stumble on it. So when you talk about self-love, that was always an issue for me. What's so wonderful? And
Yeah.
I understand that I was, intricately woven in my mother's womb, and that there's really no scientific, way of, you can tell me how it happened, but you can't really say how it happened.
Yeah.
So it's nobody but God who did it. And I understood that to be wonderful, but I didn't understand what was wonderful about me. So if you don't grow up with affirmations, you don't have positivity being spoken to you, and you don't learn what self-love is. You don't know how to write an affirmation when they say it in school or at a workshop or a conference. They're like, write 5 affirmations.
Yeah.
What you did really does is it's a paradigm shift, because you didn't just say on the back, you're great. Now write 5
Yeah.
affirmations about yourself. You gave them a blueprint of what affirmations are.
Thank you.
And that, like I said,
I
that's a paradigm
I
shift.
kind of want to go off of what you just said about
Most definitely.
the whole being beautifully and wonderfully made, and just for the viewers on here, because you never know who's watching. The funny thing about it is, on this journey with creating the dolls, I went from being like spiritual outside of like religion, then I became like Muslim for a little while, and then I became Christian. And I'm very transparent about that, because what I felt back then compared to what I feel now. And I don't know who watching, just share my story. And that's also a reason, like the purpose behind my dolls is like, I don't know if y'all know Jesus or not, but this is my platform, so I'm gonna speak about him. What he did through me,
Go
what
ahead.
he has done through my company, he's real. And the love that I'm trying to like show, create, and give, I do that because it's the same love that he has given me. And at certain times, I may not have felt it before, or had known how to tap into it, or I didn't just sit down and humble myself and try to find or feel that love from him. I'm right here telling y'all, being an advocate of change in your life. If you want to see real change and stuff, the love that God and Jesus Christ has given me, that I have put into these dolls, we all have access to it. So even if you don't buy a doll, I don't care. Don't support the dolls. Go find that love that you need, and that's
Hmm.
through Jesus. Okay, so I just had to add that in there. Spread the gospel
Oh,
moment.
sis, I'm right here with you. I'm telling you, we're gonna have to sit down
We
one
can
day. I know you got a busy schedule, but one day we're gonna sit down outside of the IG show and just like talk and chat
definitely,
and
definitely.
sip on some coffee and all this great stuff. Because I'm telling you, it what I'm feeling right now. One,
Oh, you gonna make me cry?
I'm feeling the love of God. I'm
Oh,
feeling the love of God that this was meant to be for us to connect.
mhm,
And I feel like talking to you, I feel this connection to my 23-year-old self.
mhm.
And like I said, when I saw your page and when you had wrote down, I can't remember if it was in your post or, and I know you told me you were studying until
Yeah,
Tuesday, and then you had talked about, yeah, it was in your post. It was in your post, and you had about being a college student, and I just saw everything that you were doing, and I was like, my God, this reminds me of when I was young. And I'm telling you, you are an
oh my
inspiration to
God.
so. I don't know how many people have told you or not, but God is using you on such a beautiful level, and I just want you to keep on going. I'm not even going to say sprint. Sometimes you got to be that long distance runner. I always thought I needed to be a sprinter, and when I became a long distance runner, I didn't know how to do it. I mean, just literally, but I'm learning on this track of life that you do have to know how to go the distance, and you got to be able to endure, and you got to be able to breathe through it, and you got to be able to just keep on pushing, regardless of what support that you have or what you don't have. So I'm telling you, sis, you are literally where your mental stance is at. It is so commendable, and I am so proud of you. Like, I'm so
Thank
proud of you. And
you.
so I do. I feel an overwhelmness. Anytime you want to talk about Jesus, please do. King of Kings, Lord of Lords, that's who he is for me. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without him. I would not be where I'm at. I would not have even met my husband because I was going through such a dark, path within myself.
Yeah.
I may have been in school and on the outside things looked a certain way, but I was very unfulfilled. And I didn't have self-love.
Yeah.
And when you love yourself, you're not going to try to hurt yourself. You're not going to count yourself out. You're not going to see yourself as being worthless or not mattering because you value yourself
Yeah.
and you know that tomorrow's going to be better. Yeah, the day wasn't that great of a day. Maybe last week wasn't. Maybe this whole year has been kind of crummy, but I still have hope that something better is going to take place. But when you don't have self-love, you feel really aimless.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what keeps me going is knowing God loves me, like he genuinely loves me. And then being able to sit down and see, especially now with the pandemic, like how many people have lost family members and lost their own life with
Yes.
this pandemic and other situations, financial crisis. Look how he's kept us. And then I look at my own personal
Yeah.
situations that take place. Look how he still kept us. Look how he still keeps food on the table. Look how he does this. Look how he does that. Yeah, okay, this is going a little crazy, but look at all this. So that's the beauty to me in my relationship with God is that he keeps me staying focused and staying positive and staying with a smile on my face because things get so haywire that it's easy to focus on the negative, especially if there's plenty of
Yeah.
negative. So that's, like I said, anytime you want to talk about the Lord Jesus, don't ever feel ashamed. Don't ever feel ashamed because one of the things I've learned in social media is if someone doesn't like it, guess what? They can unfollow.
Very
They
true.
can disconnect from the Instagram chat. They can unfollow. And that's okay with me. I
I,
am okay with it
I
because I'm
agree.
still going to lift up the Lord. I'm still going to lift up the Lord. And like I said, if you wanted, my dad was a minister. So although
Really?
my mom and dad, yeah. Yeah. So when you said PWI, at first I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, is that like a PK? And I don't know this new code. I am taking PWI. I love it. I love it. I do because it's just like a very nice professional way of saying it. You're not stepping on anyone's toes and
Yeah.
stuff. They'll ask you like I did, and you could, explain it. I love it. But yeah, I'm I guess I would have been if I would have grew up my dad a PK. But I'm still, my dad was a preacher, and I guess I still am because we talked, and so he would always pray with me, chastise me, and discipline me through the word.
Love that.
And I have, he passed away in 2014. And I have, a lot of his sermons and things that he wrote. And he's still teaching me. He's still, even from the grave, he's still encouraging me and still teaching me. And I'm able to have that, that foundation through which, was laid. And it doesn't take away anything from my mother. My mother took me to church and so forth. But, my dad was a minister. That's what he did. And so I'm telling you, he was a man who went through a lot. Like at first I didn't agree. My dad didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went back and I saw everything that he endured
Yeah.
and that it was God who kept him going. And I mean, like every time I would talk to him on the phone, this very end of the conversation, he would always say, always remember, God is good. And he didn't finish it off like cliche. He was just saying like, whatever you go through, God is good.
I love that.
And so, I never felt, because then when I got older, I hear people say, God is good, and God is good all the time. He didn't do that. It was just, God is good. No matter what you go through, know that God is good. And I'm telling you, he is. I mean, look at us. We're talking right now. And there is literally a part of me that feels healed, that whatever felt like, was still, in bewilderment, like, oh, why didn't I do this? And why didn't I pursue that? Seeing you and seeing what you're doing, how you're using your time so wisely, and then being gentle with yourself and spreading that love, that self-love that you have to others because it's the love that God is giving you. Sis, I'm inspired. Just keep on going. Like I said, this conversation has been so healing for me. It
Thank you.
has been so healing for me. And then to learn that you're involved with a nonprofit. Since I was little, volunteering was so important to me. It was so, I wanted to volunteer so bad at this one place with the elderly. I think I was like 9 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go up there all the time. Kings and Daughters. I'd ask the director if I could volunteer. She was like, "No, you can't." And one day she was like, "Bring your mom here." And my mom went, and she was like, "I love her tenacity." She said, "But these are adults and she's a little kid, and I don't want anything crazy happening to her. I'm glad that she wants to volunteer, but just not here." And I broke down crying. Like, I remember we were walking outside. It was just like the worst thing someone could say to me, because I wanted to help. I wanted to, I was like, I'm supposed to help. I'm supposed to do something. And I'm telling you, like, when I hear what you're saying, it brings me back to those
Thank you.
years. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I would say, keep staying on the mission, keep on doing what it is that God's called you to do. But like you said, being able to know that the vision, the vision's there, but sometimes like the path can kind of change. Kind of like when Jesus was like, he had to go through Samaria. You know what I mean? Like they're going this way, and disciples are still trying to go this way. And then he
Yeah.
was going through Samaria, and he met the Samaritan woman, and he was like, we have to go here. We have to. And it felt off course. It felt so off course, but Jesus knew what
It's
he
a part
needed
of
to
the
do.
plan.
He knew what
It's a part of the plan. It's a
it was
part.
still part of the
It's
plan.
still a part of the plan.
He had to reach out to the Gentiles. Like I
I
mean, like
know.
I think, like that's why I'm like, you want to talk about Bible? Let's go there. Let's talk, because I need
I love this.
Sister in Christ, just being able to talk about the word. It makes me just, I love it. I love it. Thank you for saying yes. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
so much
Thank
for saying yes.
thank you.
Oh my goodness, we both over here teary eyed and stuff. God is good.
I
This
think
has
this
been
has been by
awesome and
far
amazing.
my
I guess
best.
before we close out, huh?
I said that this has been by far my best interview ever.
Thank
Ever.
you.
I loved it.
Thank you. I love it too. I do. Okay, before we close out, I want people to know, how can they buy this beautiful Brianna doll?
So you can go on my website. You should be able to get to it through this page, the Melanie Dolls, but the website is also themelanieDolls.com. And like I said before, it's not even about making me money or, purchasing the doll. Go on there for the Black Girl Mantras, the affirmations that we've been talking about on here, which directly teaches you how, or teaches young girls how to feel beautiful, feel loved, and courageous. And I am, on Christmas Day, I will have a link on the website where you can get the free PDF of the Black Girl Mantras. No money, you don't have to buy a doll. I want that to be pushed more than anything. I'm really trying to teach the girls, how to, once again, feel beautiful, feel loved, feel courageous. So
Yeah.
go to the website on Christmas Day. Be ready for the free PDF if you want those, the Black Girl Mantras to give to whoever. So that's how you can
There
find me.
you go. There you go. And I see people's comments. I'm going to get to those. We're not going to ignore those. But I do want to address something real fast, because we have people of all different, ethnicities online, and they're going to see this later. And I'm pretty certain for some people, they're like, why so much black girl? Why this? And really, quite honestly, one of the main reasons why is because white dolls are still very predominant.
Yes.
I can look at someone's page and see, if they show their doll room, it'll be, white doll, white doll, white doll, white Ken, white Ken. And it's nothing against that. Like I said, you're going to get what you're going to gravitate towards, what you're around and what you see and what looks like you. And one of the things that I do know is that some of the action figures and doll lines are pushing more now for, get a doll or something that's outside of your culture, so that your kids can know about other dolls. And I would say the same for us adults. Like, don't just get what feels comfortable for you or
Mm-hmm.
something that you identify with. Get dolls that are outside your cultural,
And I,
and
I
ethnicity.
want to add that, because I have, just the world we live in and social media, you have different people from different walks of life. And, sometimes I've experienced some hate speech before. And someone said that, having just an all black doll company is kind of racist. And I just kind of want to, elaborate on that, because my intentions are very pure, first off. And I just want to say that creating this company, it was very important for me to create from a very authentic place in myself. And I had to create and produce what was relative to me, because I can't give you a white doll and it be true and authentic. I'm black at the end of the day. So this product, I mean, this company of mine is not only for black girls. I'm just creating from a black girl experience. So no matter what color, what background or whatever, if you need love, if you need to feel courageous and beautiful, that's the message of these dolls. It's not only the skin color of the doll. That's just where I'm creating from. So that's what I was able to produce. So just to go off of what you said, it's not
Yeah,
it's for
that's what
everybody.
we're doing. We feed off each other. We just, we're feeding
Yeah,
and
yeah,
eating.
yeah.
I'm telling you that when I understand, but I understand about coming under attack is when I had the African American voices in high school. I was asked my senior year by people I was extremely cool with. I mean, like, actually, people I was cool with no longer was cool with me
Oh,
because of the group that I had. Like, I had, experienced some people not wanting to deal with me. And I had someone that asked me, well, I had about three people that asked me, they were like, so I'm white, can I join? I was like, no, because this is that sacred space. And it wasn't me being against them. It was just that there was only 8 of us
yeah,
in the whole school. Whereas we had, like, I was involved with like young politicians, and that was like an organization there, and like the Ophelia Project. And I was involved with like all these different other groups that was predominantly white.
yeah,
And I would be the only speck there, the only, I hate to say speck, but I would be the only one there that was of color. I was
yeah,
involved with the yearbook team. I was the only one there that was of color. So I was like, everyone else pretty much has their own group in it. If it's all white, it's okay because this is a predominantly white
yeah,
school.
yes,
We needed to have something that felt sacred to us to be able to talk and be able to say, hey, somebody touched my hair today and it made me feel uncomfortable. You can't really talk like that around other people because they may be like, well, why did it make you feel uncomfortable? Why, you have a problem. I touched my friend's hair. It's okay for us to say it bothered me because our people were treated
yes,
as property and treated as pets. And when you look at pictures of slavery, you'll see a black person, knelt down in front of maybe a soldier, and they've got their feet on top of their back. So when we get our hair touched or pet, it takes us back there.
yeah,
Although we weren't there during that time, it's still something that's ingrained. Like, I feel like I'm being,
yeah.
treated in
Like
an
his,
inferior way.
yeah,
Yeah, your history kicks in. Your history kicks in. So that's why we needed to have that sacred space to say, this is what it felt like. I can breathe by
yes,
talking about it.
yes,
And then know that, hey, next time that happens, find a nice way of letting them know, like, hey, I prefer if you don't touch my hair. It
yes,
makes me feel uncomfortable. You may not want to have the elongated speech about, 200 years ago, this is what happened. This is what happened to my people. And this and that. They may not want to hear all that. You may not want to spill all that. Just, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I love you, Rosalind, but just, can you not touch my hair? We're cool, but I don't, I just got it done. I don't want to touch right now.
yeah,
It's okay. It's okay. But we need to be able to have those spaces and not be called racist, because it's not a matter of being racist as much as it is, there goes that word that you have, self-love.
yes,
If I'm constantly embracing the world and who they are, and then I neglect who I am, then I'm not going to be able to really, have that self love that I need to keep
yeah,
on going on, because I'm so busy trying to make sure that you're okay and you're happy and you're okay and you're happy, and I don't want to offend you. And that's just not possible. We're not the president of the United States. The president has to do that. The president has to make sure everyone is as happy as can be. We need to make sure that we have that individual love, because I can't love you if I don't love me, and one of the things that
yeah,
I've learned, I mean, like for real, this is all experience. One of the things I've learned, and it's so true, when you're on a plane, you're going through turbulence and those masks drop down, they always say, even if it's your kid right next to you, put the mask on yourself first, then put it on your child. I can't love you if I don't know how to love me. And culturally speaking, what I have learned, even whenever you're getting the hate mail or DMs, or people just wanting to know, like how do you think that's okay that you're not including this, group of people? One of the things that I have learned is that we, in our culture, like I said before, because we don't know how to put the mask on ourselves first, we don't nourish self-love, we can't give it to each other.
yeah,
And so our offspring lack it. And like I said, I'm learning this through experience, because we have a history on both sides of my family where there's a lack of self-love. and then you get so much into just habit and just pay bills, work, pay bills, work, pay bills, work. And you don't really think about, I hug you and this and that, but we don't really think about how to nourish each other, how to, pour into each other. And so your kids grow up and they're tall, but they're empty. And so it is so important for us to learn how to love ourselves so we can pour into our children. And like, it only comes from right here, especially when you didn't have it growing up. You got to get it from your relationship with him, with the triune God. He pours it into you. My cup overfloweth, like in Psalm 23. And then you're like that little teacup. You're going to pour it into, or I should say the teapot, pour it into your teacup, regardless if it's with your own children, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, working with other kids, with the doll line that you have. You're pouring your self-love into that line. So just keep on.
That as well. That's why my company is so much deeper than like just looking at it from the surface, because my ultimate goal and purpose of all of this that God has revealed to me is Black empowerment, right? But I know that I need to empower Black people spiritually, and we need to be empowered, of course, economically, mentally, and all those other things. But my first play, like for the most prominent one for me, is to empower Black people spiritually. And I'm not the type of person, or God has taught me how to do it. Like you said before, He's gonna show me how to do it, when to do it. I'm not just gonna come in and force myself upon you. But even the affirmations are like spiritual empowerment. That's for the inside of you. So it just all comes full circle in the conversation that we're having, because like Black empowerment, that's what the Melanie Dolls is. And it's like spiritual empowerment, but also physical. And then I'm gonna eventually get to the economical and all that type of empowerment. But first, spiritually, our people need to be empowered spiritually, so.
I agree. So when you talk about Melanie, did that come from melanin?
It did. It's the female derivative word of melanin. It is. That's where I got it.
I like that. I like it. Oh goodness. See, we could just go on and on and on. Like I said, we have so many similarities, and I'm just really, really extremely proud of you. And I know that your family has got to be proud of you and what you are doing. And still, now you on your last, there you go. Is this your last year of school?
It is. I'm hoping next semester is going to be my last semester in college. I'm speaking in faith, by the way. Yeah.
There you go.
Next semester, but
it will be. It will be. You are going to graduate next year. There's not going to be any, extended semester or anything like that. Hey, you know what? And this is real quick, but when I was in undergrad, I had all these classes that I needed to finish, and I didn't think I was going to finish in 4 years. And then we end up going to like the SAIL program, like SAIL, like literally SAIL. And it's an acronym, and I don't know I cannot remember. It's been years. I can't remember what it stands for. But we had to do our semester, like 2 semesters in the fall, and then 2 semesters for spring. And we had to do full time. We had to do, all of our credit hours. And I'm telling you, like, I got out in 4 years. So I'm telling you, God will work that thing out. And I still have friends that have to spend a whole nother year at U of L. I was at Spalding and spent a whole nother year at U of L because they didn't have that particular program. But the way that they worked out for me, I was out in 4 years. So you never know how He has it organized.
I'm past the 4-year mark already. I'm like a 5.5-year student already. But balance, that's where that even goes back to the first question you asked me. Like, how does that balance go? And sometimes I just remember, like, I completely failed a whole semester because I was so focused on building this business. And it's like, did it hurt? Did I cry? Yes. But then it's like, after it's all over and you look back, was it worth it? Definitely. And I'm gonna still graduate. Everything's fine. Like you said, at the end of the day, God is good. So it's coming full circle. Like, everything's coming full circle.
There you go. And the thing is, listen, you may still be in school, right? And you may have failed that one semester. We're not talking about semesters, one semester, but you're still doing it. You didn't give up. You could have gave up. You could have just been like, forget it. And then you could have blamed your business and been like, you know what, because I was trying to get you started, all this happened. I'm just going to, put you on the side and not touch you anymore because it's not meant. You didn't do that. You kept going. So regardless of how long you've been in school, you're still going. Like we said, it's not about sprinting. It's about enduring. And I have learned, I was on track and I went from being a sprinter to long distance runner. And I was so just completely peed off about being a long distance runner. I didn't get the value of it till way later on.
Yeah.
And you can't sprint through life. You can't sprint through your business. You have to be able to go the distance and be able to, keep breathing and enduring through it. And when you're doing long distance, like you can sprint and be over there, at the very starting line and be like, I can do this. And you're done, right? When you're doing long distance running, you have to talk to yourself the whole time. So that's all you're hearing. You're hearing other footsteps beside you and behind you. And of course, you got the footsteps in front of you while they're running. But the main voice that you hear is in your head. And if you don't have self-love, you don't have those affirmations like what you have, those mantras, all you're saying to yourself is, I can't do this. My feet are hurting. My knees are hurting. And that's what I was saying to myself. And it hurt my time. It hurt my time all the time. Every time whenever, they clock you, my time would be hurt because I wasn't speaking positive myself. I think like one race, I spoke positive myself. I was like, I can do this. I can do this. Just keep breathing, Rashida. You could do this, right? And I'm running, which when you said about being Muslim, my name is Rashida, which is Muslim. My dad named me. He named me after his sister-in-law. So when people see my name, I've had people before go, oh, you're Muslim. And I'm like, no, I'm not Muslim. But yeah, my name is Muslim. So when you said that, I was like, yeah.
Another
but
that's crazy. I love that.
That's the thing. We've got to sit down.
We do.
Virtually. I don't care, whatever, on the phone. And we've got to have some coffee or something and just sit and talk. Because I'm telling you, I feel inspired. And I don't really know how it's impacting you, but I want to continue to talk to you.
Because there's this connection here. We're going to have to sit down. We got to plan it out. I'm all for it.
Yes. And I'm always. And, that's one of the things that has been a blessing with being a part of this doll community is being able to meet such positive and focused individuals. Because for me, I want that, I'm all about positivity and having a positive atmosphere because there's enough going on outside of us that we can't control to where I really want, that's what I'm about, nourishing of the spirit and the soul. And when it comes to our kids, that's what I want them to see as a role model. I used to have them write papers because my mother used to have me write papers about black heroes of the past. So black scientists, black entrepreneurs, black pioneers. I had to, along with doing my schoolwork, she had these little tiny books and I would have to read those books and then write a report and it was due on a Friday.
Now, I know that impacted you tremendously. I know that built a great foundation inside of you.
It did, but it was very stressful. I'm gonna be very honest with you. It was so stressful because I also, she had her own shop. My mom was an entrepreneur herself. She was a seamstress and designer. She had fashion shows and so forth. So I was busy over there and I was busy over here. And at the time, it was stressful. But then you talk about full circle. Now I'm a homeschool mom, and and my kids doing reports. And at first I had them doing reports on people that already passed away because I was like, so important for you guys to know that you can, look what they did with all the obstacles that's in front of them, that was in front of them. And look what you have with you and, all the different changes that's taking place. You can do it. And one day our oldest daughter wanted to do a report on Roberta Flack. And I was like, she's still alive. And I prayed about it, and God, he got me. It was just you need to let them see people who are still alive, not just people who have died, because that can actually be kind of traumatizing. Because when I looked over my life, because I had spent so many times learning about Dr. Charles Drew and this person, that person, and Booker T, I didn't really see much value in living. You know what I mean? It took away the value of living. It's good to know. You want to know your history. You want to know those who came before you and the obstacles that they faced and they overcame. But it's even more important to learn about those that are still alive and striving and thriving.
Yes.
That's what allows you to know, hey, I can really do this. So when she said that, it was like, yeah, go ahead, do Roberta Flack. And so now the reports they do is on people who are still alive.
I love it.
Because you need to be able to know, I can do this in this now.
That's so deep. That is so deep.
Well,
I love
sis, you've been added to the list.
Thank you.
You have been added to the list. So being
you.
able to know, hey, you can do this. Because I'm telling you, being able to be, it's not about being a role model. It's about walking and doing the vision. I remember I think Charles Barker, there we go, the basketball player. He said years ago, he was like, he was throwing chairs and stuff. This is in his heyday when he was younger. And he would play basketball and get mad and throw chairs and have these outlandish tantrums. And they were like, hey, what about the kids? He's like, I'm not trying to be a role model. And the reality is, you don't have to try to be a role model. You don't. But you just walking and fulfilling the path that God has you vision wise, being obedient allows you to be an inspiration, and it puts you in the place of being a role model. So that's where I see you as, and there's nothing that could really change that for me. So you are definitely on the list for us to be able to have our girls, especially, and our boys, to learn more about with your business, and you being able to balance school and just doing all these awesome, amazing accomplishments, and still just being so human and transparent and giving all honor to God. That's beautiful.
Listen, this whole thing, and then it's like at the end of, like, once I finally, like, okay, I had like the set, like, okay, this is the Melanie dolls right here, the set identity. I knew that, like, everything I endured, I was gonna have to, like, talk about God. Like, even if I don't want to, I have to, because it's not me. Like, I didn't do this. I wish I could say I did, but I really didn't. So
it's beautiful when it's not you. It's
yeah.
beautiful when it's not you. Why? Because if it's his and you gave it back to him, it's dedicated to him, he's not gonna let it fail. He's not gonna let it falter. It may have some dips. It may have some, you know what I mean? Because you got the valleys, you got the mountaintop, you got your valleys. You feel me? You got to have those valleys, because that's your learning place, and we're his sheep, and he's gonna take us through those valleys to get to the mountaintop so we can eat, and then we gotta go right back down. So those dips are there as learning lessons. But I'm telling you, when it's his, he's not gonna let it fail. He's not. It's not. He can't fail. So he's not gonna. This is mine, he says. So it's not gonna fail. It's just gonna be learning lessons in it. So I say, just keep on going. You're on the right path with it. I like I said, I'm proud of you. I just want you to keep on going with it. We're gonna stay in contact. Make sure you guys are going to get these awesome, amazing, and authentic dolls. They are so beautiful. They are on my Christmas list. I'm going to themelaniedolls.com. I'll put that in the caption as well, to purchase our 4, because I want one. I don't just want. I will be jealous if I see my girls with it. I will. I'll be honest with you.
Thank you so much.
I want to be like, hey, y'all can have your own, but I want my own. I want my own. I do. And on top of that, before we end, these dolls are articulated. Sis, that's awesome. Like, these are, and there's nothing against those that are not articulated, but I'm telling you, we love, especially in our doll community, we love articulation. We love for those elbows to bend. We love to be able to sit them down. So when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely on my list. Like,
I can tell that you really, like, sorry. Okay, I think my phone is frozen, but I can tell that you know your dolls for real, because that was so important for me. I wanted quality. That was another thing. And to go back to the question that you asked me earlier, what advice do I have for someone who's trying to do, any type of business? Quality over quantity. You're going to spend a lot of money, but the money goes, it will come back. It will come back. Quality. So thank you for noticing that. You're the first person to point that out. Thank you so much. I love that.
I do photography. It's like, it's so important to me. Like I said, it doesn't say anything against the dolls that are straighter, stiffer. I believe those are beautiful too. But when it comes to photography and interacting with your dolls, and I mean, even with, of course, our girls, and I believe, like, when I was growing up, we could have our stiffer dolls. But even with that, we had the click. I call it the click click. The knees would bend. It was, I call it the click, because you hear click click. the clicking was important because you wanted to do stuff with your dolls. You want them to sit down and you want them to be as natural and realistic as possible. Now, of course, there are dolls that are beautiful and amazing, especially with up and coming doll lines. So I don't knock any of it. If you got a stiffer doll, you know why you did it. That's your purpose. I still appreciate it. You know, I still use it in my storyline. As far as preference wise, I do have a preference for articulated dolls. I can do more with her. She's more natural. I can, you know, pose her in different ways, and I can involve her in my storyline way more.
Yeah.
And so that when I saw that, because I was going through your page, I was like, oh, she's sitting down. She's sitting down on the couch. I was like, yes, we're getting that. We're getting that. You know, I would have supported you anyways. I would have supported you anyways. But when I saw her, you know, with her bent knees and stuff, I was like, oh yes, she's definitely a keeper. Like, I can involve her in my story. Like, she's gonna be someone's aunt or someone's sister. This is not just gonna be an extra in the background.
I love it.
So I really do. I appreciate what you do, and I agree with you so much. I grew up under that mantra, that quality over quantity.
Yes.
My mother would say it about the people I would hang out with. You know, she was like, quality over quantity, quality over quantity. It's not about being able to have a whole lot of friends as much as it is having those quality friends.
Exactly.
If you have 2 or 3 friends, but they're quality, that's more important than having 20. That's going to, you know, get you in trouble and locked up or worse. So you want to be able to have quality with your products, with whatever business that you're in. I mean, let's talk about the Bible on that, okay? Because what do you say? To be, you know, to consider first how you're building your house. You don't just want to build it on sand. You know, you want to be able to build it on the rock, build it on that which is going to last. So quality over quantity. I think there's even what is it, like one of those statements that people have or saying that they say about a person who built a house and someone had asked him to build and gave him the money, and then he bought like all this cheap stuff to buy the house, you know, to make the house, I should say. And then he made the house, and the person who gave him the money was like, hey, okay, now you live in it. It's yours.
Oh, wow.
And he knew that he built this house with very cheap resources and it was going to fall down. So it was better in that case to have had a house that was quality over quantity. You know, just trying to keep the money in your pocket is not what's going to do it. Being able to have a house that stands and that lasts is what's important. And that goes for so many areas of life, you know. So when you say that, I'm like, that's right. That's right. Having a quality doll is what's going to be more important. That's what's going to bring people back. So when you get this other doll line out, now what's the other doll line? Because I saw it. Now this one's not busting. It's on the webpage.
The Angela doll is the unreleased doll right now. Angela.
I'm looking forward to that one too. I'm looking forward to that one too. Like I said, I did not bust out a secret. That one is on the website. So we will
up there.
we will patiently wait. Yeah, I don't like busting out secrets. Like I said, there's always somebody with a listening ear. So, you know, yeah. And then on top of that, and I love what you said. You said earlier what God is showing me so far. And that is so important because when we walk with God, there's always this so far. He tells you enough, and then you walk with him, you're obedient to it, and then he drops some more, and it may end up taking you to Samaria. And then back again.
Yes.
So I agree with you. You can only tell so much. But I have enjoyed our conversation so much. I want you to enjoy your break.
I will.
Call me, write me whenever you want.
Okay. We're going to definitely keep in touch. Thank you so much for this. I loved it.
I did too. Okay. You guys have a good day. We're sorry we didn't get to the comments. We saw it. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of it. You guys have an awesome, amazing Christmas holiday. And don't forget, get on the website, the melanydolls.com.
Yes.
And I'll put it on I'll put it down at the bottom.
Okay.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.